Welcome. It's another opportunity for Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. I'm recording this on a Monday, the beginning of the week. May your week, or whatever lies ahead, look pleasant for you. If it exists. What? Well, that's what we're talking about today as we discuss the Bhagavad Gita as a guide for deepening your understanding of yourself and of your life. So, before I start, I'm dedicating today's practice to the red-shouldered hawk family, who has been very active and vocal around here lately. Sometimes we'll have a hawk that lands on the fence back there and just kind of scopes out everything in the backyard. And also, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about a spider who had built a web on my rubbish can, and I didn't take the trash out that week because I didn't want to disturb him. He has since disappeared. I'm not sure if a squirrel ran through his web and destroyed it. But really, you don't even know if he exists because you didn't see it. You know, if you think I'm telling the truth and you trust me, you'll say, okay, Enrique, the spider, did exist, and he's probably just somewhere in your garden. But otherwise, you could be thinking, is she making this all up? Maybe he doesn't really exist. And that is the crux of today's discussion. What exists? And how do we know it exists? If you have any of your Song of the Soul books, I will be looking at verse 19. So chapter 9, verse 19. And even if you don't have these books, you can refer to any other Bhagavad Gita, or you can listen. You can listen because the translation here is in the original meter as the Sanskrit verse. So in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjun more about who he is. This is a chapter of Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of... It's so hard to translate bhakti into one word in English. Some people will say devotion or love. Devotion is closer, but maybe right now we can just talk about Krishna is trying to show Arjun who he is out of both love for Arjun and out of hope that Arjun can love him for who he truly is. One of the big cruxes of the human condition. A reason why this book is so popular. Can you love yourself for who you truly are? Can others love you? Can you love others for who they are? Well, first of all, we have to figure out who we are. And Krishna is telling Arjun about one of his many wonderful qualities. Arjun is listening, and Krishna says, Arjuna, as the sun I give, forth heat withhold or send the rains. Eternal life and death am I, existence and non-existence. So if you were describing yourself at a party, how many of you might use this? Oh, yeah, I give forth heat. I withhold or send the rains. Now, interestingly, in the first part of the verse, if you look in the Sanskrit, the word sun is nowhere in the Sanskrit. However, many translators use or insert the word sun because otherwise it's Krishna saying, I radiate heat, I conceal and reveal the rains. And it is meant to be in relation to his function as a life-giving and sustaining being, which for us, the sun is extremely close to that and gives us an analogy that we, especially as Westerners, can work with. So the word sun doesn't really exist in the original Sanskrit. However, including it can help us understand. And then we'll go a little further down, the final verse. Existence and non-existence. Krishna says he is existence and non-existence. Well, what the heck? Remember, we're in a very tough part of the Bhagavad Gita. I have a very good friend who I've had for decades, and this friend likes to debate. And one of the things this friend has said many years ago, which I didn't take the bait on because I was like, okay, is I don't exist. How do I know I exist? I don't exist. And I thought, well, now that's interesting, because I was talking with this person about something. I said, Well, we have to start with the premise that, we exist because we know we exist. And of course, I shouldn't have said that, because then the reply was, how do I know I exist? I might not exist. I don't exist. I don't think I exist. Well, fortunately for us, Krishna is saying he is both existence and non-existence, which is hard to wrap our head around. What could that mean? Well, in terms of us in general, the words actually for existence and non-existence are sat and asat, 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 sat and asat, which would probably more literally translate into English as truth and untruth. However, Sanskrit, being very nuanced, having developed over a very long period of time, actually probably its deeper core meaning is existence or non-existence. And this is reflected in chapter 2, verse 16, where the words sat and asat are equated to being and non-being. Specifically, the unreal has no being, and the real does not cease to be. What Krishna is sharing with Arjun here, hi airplane, oh, that's a big one. They must be rerouting the air traffic today for some weather-related reason. Anywho, there's both existence and non-existence in Krishna's estimation of himself. What does this mean? Well, many of us have this untruth that we live in and put on for the world. For example, if you met me in person, I'm not going to be 24/7 like I am on this 15-minute video. It's no. This is me on video, and there's another me off video. There's another me that's really cranky and when I haven't eaten, and there's a me that's really hyper in the morning, and then so these me's, this parade of me's come and go. So since they come and go, according to the Gita, they're not real, because what is real about me is what never changes. And that's tough because our physical bodies change, our minds change, our emotions change, our breath changes. So what are we? Our level of energy changes. So we are real, but we're unreal, and many of us choose to identify with the unreal, and that, according to many spiritual books like the Yoga Sutras, is what ultimately causes us existential pain. If we just start going, that's not real about me, and I'm not going to identify with it, I'm going to identify with this core of me that's constant, then many of our problems are solved. Well, simple, but as we've mentioned before, not easy. Let's move over to gather ourselves. Sometimes when our heads are confronted with this paradoxical apparentness, then it's good to settle the brain with a balance pose. And remember, you can choose to do this balance pose in any way you wish. Pricker weeds. Switch. All right. So now that perhaps our minds are a little more settled, I invite you for the next 5 minutes to contemplate who you really are, what exists for real with you. See you in 5. Ooh. Welcome back after that 5 minutes. I wonder how that went for you. You may have heard this really angry squirrel, and the squirrel can be a great example of something that exists and doesn't exist. If you're from a country with no squirrels, and we've had people visit us from Australia, and they're just like, squirrels, they're amazing, but and they go back home, and a squirrel is not real for them because it came in and out of their life. Squirrels here are very real. There have been squirrels here before I was embodied. There are going to be squirrels, and barring any disaster, there are going to be squirrels here after I pass. So, squirrels, real here, maybe not real there. Something to contemplate today, and we'll see what emerges tomorrow. Until then, hey, squirrel.